Phillies Mailbag is open. Frank Klose is in. And, of course, you can get your mailbag questions at Frank Klose on Twitter. That's Frank Klose with a K. And he joins us now with a look at the Phillies Mailbag, as the Phillies already have some very interesting questions for you, Frank, as we start off this Tuesday. How are you, sir?
Doing well, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Awesome. Looking forward to Phillies Mets Part 2 tonight. After last night, we had Ramos, basically starting a riot out there almost, throwing behind Cabrera. Cabrera says after the game, I don't even remember hitting a home run off of that guy. You buying that?
Oh, I'm sure he knows. And those two know each other very well. They're both from Venezuela. I know Cabrera had some bitter feelings that he was not selected for the World Baseball Classic team this year. Ramos was on it. So they know each other very, very well.
All right, and then, of course, Pete Mackinnon last night, he gets run from the game. He says, I don't know why he ended up getting run. I think he was going out to the mound to say, hey, had we been warned? Like, did I miss something here?
Yeah, that seemed a little bit odd that he would get the axe so quickly. Sometimes umpires take it very personally when they're challenged. So it looks like that might have been a little bit of an overreaction. I mean, umpires should have enough wiggle room to at least explain what's going on if the manager asks, which is a shame. I didn't think he needed to be rung there.
All right, let's get to the mailbag questions here because we got a lot of interesting storylines around the Phillies. And John wants to know why the Phillies went to Joaquin Benoit. Why Benoit and not somebody else? Now, you had written at 973ESPN.com that not to go to Neris yet. Did you agree with going to Benoit? Did you agree with pulling Gomez?
Yeah, so I guess one thing first, I guess it was time for Gomez to get a little bit of a breather. I went back and I watched that Sunday ninth inning again, and he's just all over the place right now, Gomez. It's almost like he's lost his confidence to the point where he's just so afraid to get near the plate. And so he's throwing a bunch of balls left, right, all over the creation. And then when he runs the count to the point where he has to throw a strike, he throws it right down the middle. I was looking at his velocity. His velocity is right about where it was last year, so there's no alarming signs there. So I think it's just a little bit of mechanics and a little bit of confidence, and sometimes one messes up the other. So I definitely thought it was a good time to let Gomez take a little bit of a breather from that role. So in terms of whether I would go with Benoit, yeah, he was the one I suggested the Phillies go to when I wrote that piece the other day. And the reason I picked Benoit is, as I explained in that Neris piece, you don't really want to give the impression you're making a long-term commitment to a closer right now. And Hector Neris very well could be the guy that ends up being the closer long-term. But if you appoint him closer now, he goes out there, maybe he struggles a little bit. Well, then what you're doing is you have to pull him out of that position. And the goal of this season is not to create more question marks. It's try to create some certainty going forward. So if Hector Neris goes in and he fails and he's pulled out because you put him in prematurely, well, then all you've done is confuse the situation even more. So I thought it'd be better if the Phillies left Hector Neris alone, continued to let him develop behind a veteran player like Joaquin Benoit, who's got closing experience in the major leagues and on a playoff team, for that matter, and let him develop. You'll have a better idea of just what you have with Neris if he has a little bit more time. And then maybe at the trade deadline, if Benoit gets moved, or at the end of the season, there's no rush. If you think Neris is your guy, then you make that commitment, because there's so many ramifications there. We looked at the arbitration cases this past winter, and, the Yankees, Dellin Betances, he was arguing he should get closer money, and he wasn't really a closer, although he was a top reliever. And you know what? If Betances had a number of saves, he would be kind of pushed ahead on that salary level as well, no matter how well he pitched. So if the Phillies sort of give Neris an opportunity, and let's say he gets 20 saves and he's okay, he's not great, and then there are some real ramifications for that down the line too. So there's a lot of reasons why you don't want to put yourself in that situation yet. I think the Phillies really want to know long-term what they're going to do with the position. And one wild card I put in there, which is worth looking at this whole season, is, if Velasquez doesn't cut it as a starter, and we've talked extensively about that. His arm is too good to probably not be a closer. So, you need to let this season play out a little bit more, I think, before you go making any long-term solutions. And veteran Benoit, 2013 Tigers, he was their closer. They won 93 games. They ended up losing to the Red Sox in the ALCS. He's a good idea for this 2017 Phillies team.
Frank, last night's hijinks aside, do you think Ramos should have been given an option to close? Is he a future option maybe as a closer?
I really like what I've seen of Ramos so far. He's got a high lively fastball, high mile per hour lively fastball. I think he's got some tools, and you know what? Maybe if Neris wasn't around, we'd be asking the question was if Ramos was going to be the closer. But I think he still has a couple of maturity issues. Perhaps we need to work out here. Keep the level head. I mean, granted, he's not the one who gave up the 2-run homer to Jay Bruce, but he's still the one who perhaps. If he didn't get all wound up and throw that pitch over Cabrera's head, maybe he doesn't walk a batter and that mess doesn't happen. So I would say that just like Neris, he's even you want to give him time to see what you have, and I think he's definitely a talented arm, and if all goes well for the Phillies, having Neris and Ramos in the back end of the bullpen for years to come is not a bad thing.
Hey, Frank, a lot of people asking about Brock Stassi. I mean, he was kind of the story. He was a national story with him, breaking down the way he did. But do you think that his stay in Philly will be short-lived?
Now, I did get this question right before he hit the home run. So so maybe I wouldn't have gotten the question if he hadn't hit that home run in his eighth at-bat. I think what we've seen from Stassi so far, I think it was really good idea for Pete Mackanin to give him a start yesterday to get some regular at-bats, because chances are he'd get a hit out of one of them. Now, he started out 0 for 7, but one positive thing is that he did have 3 walks. It seems like a few of his plate appearances were patient, but others were very impatient. So, and maybe that is freshman jitters. You're very eager to get your first hit, so you perhaps try too hard and swing when you shouldn't swing. I thought on Sunday he should not have been wailing away at some of those pitches that he swung at in the bottom of the 9th inning. But maybe this will help level him out. He finally got his first hit. It's a home run at that. And I think you need a larger sample size with somebody like him. And in terms of his role on the team, it's not like he's a real key piece that needs to be in their lineup every day. He's somebody who's going to play against a tough righty like he did yesterday. He's going to come up and pinch hit now and then. But really, Daniel Nava is their primary pinch hitter, really from both sides. So there's not so much pressure to have him figure it out right away, but I think for sure 125 batting average looks a lot better than 0. But he had the 3 walks, so I think he's shown some discipline. I think he's shown some tools, and maybe now that first hit's out of the way, he'll relax a little bit more and be able to play a little bit more consistency. So I wouldn't really go down that road yet, especially since the Phillies really have no clear bench bat to replace them with. So you might as well ride this one out for a while, and who knows, you get a month or 2 away, and if he's just scuffling here, anybody else really who's a minor leaguer turned major leaguer this year, if he's really scuffling, then maybe you try to relieve him of that down the line, but nothing yet.
Frank Klose with us, Phillies Mailbag open, and Frank Barry wants to know, who do you think is the first to go from those who made the opening day roster?
Well, so far I'd say I'm a little bit disappointed in what Joely Rodriguez has done for the Phillies so far. I thought he has a few more tools than he showed. Now it's a very small sample size at this point, but essentially with him and Adam Morgan in your bullpen as the lefties, and the Phillies seeming to want to let Morgan be the long man, Rodriguez has gotten those key spots against the left-handed batter, which usually the left-handed pitcher is supposed to get out. Small sample size, they're batting .667 against him. So, helping lead to his .982 earned run average early on. Now, so again, maybe it's some of the jitters that Stassi had, but bottom line is, if you're in the major leagues and you're a lefty reliever, you got to get lefties out. And so if you find themselves in a situation which happens to every team where maybe a starter doesn't go deep, and then you have to lean on the bullpen a lot. I could see him being swapped out for Luis Garcia almost any time, because if you're the lefty, you're supposed to get lefties out, and you can't get a lefty out, then there's really no purpose for you being there. So, but he has some tools, and the Phillies, remember, they chose to keep Garcia on their 40-man roster instead of keeping Tyler Goeddel. So Garcia's presence was at the cost of Goeddel, who still might help somebody someday in a role, one role or another. So I think that Garcia's there. He's on their radar, and they have no problem going to him if they need to, even if it means losing their lefty. So that would be my pick for right now.
All right. You can send Phillies mailbag questions to Frank at Frank Klose with a K on Twitter. Frank Klose, also part of sportstalkphilly.com, and check out the stuff from the guys over there. And don't forget the mailbag every Tuesday right here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Frank, Phillies and the Mets. Enjoy the game, pal.
Thanks, guys.